Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here today. Sorry I can't be there with you in person, but I am excited to come to you tonight and talk about philanthrocapitalism, which is something that is near and dear to my heart. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. Okay, here we go. So today, Glenda asked me to talk about philanthrocapitalism and funding trends and empowering what I'm going to call grassroots and faith-based organizations. I have to say before I get started, I feel like this morning's speakers have all been excellent, and I'm in very good company this morning in providing you different ways to tackle the need for funds. And in Father Lord following you about the grants and the like, it's always interesting to hear different perspectives on grants, as they are very difficult to get. So as we diversify our portfolios of philanthropy, philanthrocapitalism is naturally going to flow as another alternative to the grants, but not to just be used on its own, but actually in conjunction with the other financing. We really are looking at a more holistic approach to philanthropy that will allow you to fund your advocacies. So as we start this process, I want to begin with talking about what is philanthrocapitalism. For those of you that might be new to the term or want a reminder on the term, it is a blend, obviously, at the site of it, of philanthropy and capitalism, which naturally lends itself to the definition of blending business principles and strategies with philanthropic efforts to drive social change. It does focus on different kinds of business expertise and leveraging those resources, looks at measuring impact and outcomes and making sure that funds are being used optimally, and obviously wants you to work on collaborative partnerships, meaning that you're not just having one person ask and one person give, but rather work together, kind of like in that circular economy that Mr. Fernandez was speaking to earlier, to accomplish the goals that you have, the funding needs that you have, and the funding goals that you have. It's a newer paradigm. And I am going to be drawing on a lot, but it's not completely new, but I am going to be drawing on a lot of information from a book called Philanthrocapitalism: How Giving Can Save the World. It was written by Matthew Bishop and Michael Green. And it does capitalize on the fact that there is a fifth evolution of funder, donor, philanthropist we're in the midst of. And that funder, donor, philanthropist is more entrepreneurial. There are more entrepreneurial dollars that are being given to philanthropy. And if you just need a few examples, you can think of people like Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, all of which are entrepreneurs that have gone in, that have now dedicated vast majorities of their fortunes to their earned fortunes to philanthropy. And in doing so, they are bringing their mentalities, they are bringing their mindset to the philanthropic world because of the way that they have made their money. So the strategies that I will talk about today are really do have a very big foundation in entrepreneurship, which I think is a wonderful opportunity for Spring Rain Global, our PDOs, and other organizations like ours, because we can really showcase what we have to offer them as far as already existing infrastructure. And I'll get to that further later. To start the first strategy, we're looking at strategy is to create a foundation with capacity building. I was really excited to see this. Obviously at Spring Rain Global, this has been near and dear to our hearts. It's been something we've been talking about for a very long time in our organization's existence. But they really are seeing, these philanthrocapitalists, the need to create offices and micro businesses, if you will, that will allow you to have a greater impact. They're looking at putting dollars into organizations like the PDOs that you have, because they recognize there's limited resources, especially in faith-based organizations, but others as well, other grassroots as well. And that it also helps you to overcome technology challenges. So if we keep in mind that these are entrepreneurs who have made a lot of their fortunes in different industries, technology is a big one, and they know how technology can amplify what you can do in the world of philanthropy and in your business of mission. And one of the things that we like to say or I like to say in Spring Rain Global is our PDOs are in the business of mission. You really are. And what we do is just to help you to enhance your effectiveness. And how we do that is coming together at conferences like these and sharing our ideas together and working on the different pillars that we have to build your capacity and to build your reach and to build your sustainability factor and therefore enhance the impact that you will have, which is what they're looking for. So I was very encouraged to see capacity building being at the top of it. I was very encouraged to think that if we were to do more presentations to these philanthrocapitalists about the benefits and the need for capacity building, that we could attract dollars at a higher rate. Strategy number 2 is strategic investments through measurable outcomes. Of course, we're going to talk about investing. We're talking about philanthrocapitalism after all. And obviously, they're going to want to see measurable outcomes. They're going to want to understand where their money is going. How is it having an impact? What is it doing in the grand and the bigger picture? So when you're thinking about how you're going to speak to that strategy, if you're speaking with a philanthrocapitalist, you definitely want to clarify your missions. I heard someone talk about Father JP delivering a speech yesterday. I have heard him speak before about the hospitals. He definitely has a tendency to talk about their commitment to healthcare. So whether your advocacy that you are advocating for happens to be healthcare, education, or any other one on the spectrum, you really want to clarify that, and you want people to come to identify your organization with your mission or missions. Then you want to identify your specific goals. You want to set specific goals and identify what they are so they know what you're trying to accomplish. Obviously, if we're looking at this from a business perspective, we're going to speak in their language, and having those goals to say, no, it's not just some esoteric, some idea in the sky that we're bringing to you, but we have very good reasons for this, and we want to share with you the goals of why we want to undertake these endeavors. Of course, when you integrate this, you want to be able to work in the impact. So you want to be able to have the measurables there so that you can tell them how you're going to help them gauge what their impact is with the dollars that you're requesting, and how it can either give back a return, whether that return be actual dollars and cents, or if that return would be something more on a social impact. And then you want to have you want to be able to scale those things. And scaling is huge. Scaling is where a lot of people fail. There is a book called Scale or Fail, and there is a reason there is a book called Scale or Fail. A lot of people, a lot of businesses start small and they're doing things really well. And as they start to scale it, it doesn't work the same way. So if you can actually have a system set up behind what you want funded that would allow for scalability, not only could that be replicated in other PDOs inside of Spring Rain, for instance, but it could be replicated across the globe. And a lot of these philanthrocapitalists are taking on global issues. So if you're able to be that petri dish for them that they can then expand into, that could be very attractive for them. Finally, and definitely not the last thing to mention here, but iterative learning. And this is something that philanthropy has struggled with for a very long time. A lot of donors or would-be donors want to know, if I give to you, what is the outcome? I want to know the good that was done, and it better be good, and you better not fail. You better deliver on your promise. And what we're seeing is that sometimes you need to try things out. So the fact that their strategy can involve an allowance to fail forward is very encouraging in philanthrocapitalism, and really does make sense, because a lot of businesses don't succeed at first. And so I'm happy to see that this entrepreneurial mindset is being brought to the philanthropic landscape through philanthrocapitalism. Strategy 3 is collaboration and partnerships. We do not live in a bubble. And I know we all know this, but I think oftentimes we think, okay, we're an organization that needs something, and we just need to find that donor and that match. And we want to look for, if you're playing a memory game, you want to turn over the right cards that match each other. And there, we're going to have this great marriage. But the reality is that there can be a lot of players when you're funding something. There can be funders who can also be business partners. There can be secular organizations that want to make an impact in the communities that you serve and want to partner with you in a way that amplifies your reach. Government plays a big role. Governments in a lot of places are the safety net, or try to be the safety net. And so, partnering with governments can be very powerful, especially if those governments have dollars to spend that can be leveraged and just worked out into the entire transaction. And of course, other nonprofits and businesses. Many nonprofits are tackling the same systemic social issues. So it makes sense that you wouldn't waste resources, that you might combine your efforts, you might collaborate, you might work together, you might try to come up with some sort of plan or scheme that would allow you to really be able to tackle your cause in a much more efficient way. And when you're talking about business, efficiency is key. So working together, not being in a bubble, understanding how to leverage everybody and capitalize on their strengths can really help to enhance the situation and make the impact even greater. Strategy number 4 is innovation and calculated risk-taking. When I saw this, I was like, well, the good news is they're looking at calculated risk. The bad news is they're looking at calculated risk. And I laughed at that because it's great to see that you're innovating. They want to see something different. They know that we haven't been able to keep up with the needs. The UN constantly tells us that every year it's growing, it's growing, it's growing, and they tell us it's going to continue to grow. And they do want to see meaningful change. So it's great to see that they're embracing innovation, which means that we can think outside the box. It does mean that if we think something might work better, that we have the space in which to talk about it, discuss it, and find a path forward. And also, like I said earlier, being able to fail forward is very, very important, because every time you try something new, it doesn't mean you're always going to succeed right off the bat. So making sure that you have that space to fail forward is very, very important. But when you're taking a calculated risk, it's also important that you understand that risk and that you be able to articulate that. So when Mr. Fernandez was speaking to earlier about looking at that risk, here it is again. So you're also seeing common themes in this morning's speeches, because that is just that is a thread that everyone wants to understand. Before they put their dollars out there, before you do something, invest in something, we want to know what that calculated risk is and that you've thought things through in such a way that you have your contingency plans and we can then take a chance on your innovation. Strategy number 5 is utilizing advocacy and influence to drive systemic change. This is going beyond the dollars and cents, and this definitely speaks to today. Influencers are a hot topic in every country around the globe. Every social media platform is talking about them. You can't escape an influencer, and you have probably purchased from an influencer or 10. It's just happening. But what makes it great about that is because these individuals, especially the philanthrocapitalists, who hang on to a certain cause or advocacy, as we like to call them, they have these platforms on which to bring light and to really educate a very broad audience about what you're up to. So I love the fact that philanthrocapitalism is not just, well, let me see, I'm going to help and I'm going to give a grant or a donation. And if you know about me, you're there. It really is giving a voice and giving momentum to a movement. If you get an influencer or philanthrocapitalistic influencer behind you to kind of carry that movement. So really how you speak about and how you get someone, enroll a philanthrocapitalist to be part of your movement is very important and can make a huge difference in the visibility and getting your story out there and humanize your cause so that you're not just asking, you're showing, you're telling, and you're targeting. And all of that is very important, not just in business, but in philanthropy. Strategy number 6 is ethical engagement and long-term commitment. I will tell you that, this is important for faith-based organizations. It's especially talked about when you're talking about big hedge funds or investment accounts. And it's wonderful to see that people are respecting faith-based values and understanding cultural sensitivities. I think that's great. But what really encouraged me about seeing this strategy that's unfold was to know that they're committed to long-term impact. And I think for a long time, philanthropy has been, okay, I'm in and I'm out. I'm one and done. I did my duty or what have you. And really to see a commitment to, if I'm going to take this on, how is it going to sustain itself? What are we doing today to sustain ourselves later? And obviously there's a lot of things that can be done in there that I can't discuss now, but I was very encouraged to say this and wanted to bring that that positivity to the room. Why funders should consider faith-based organizations in philanthropic endeavors. I kind of feel like a broken record when I speak about this, but I do want to bring it up. I truly believe that faith-based organizations, especially in the Catholic Church from my knowledge and experience, is an untapped resource. However, I also believe that they're a resource that is very established in the communities in which they serve, and they've been working on that infrastructure for decades or centuries in some cases. And because of that, they understand the communities and they understand what is really needed to get things done. And why that is so significant when you think about philanthrocapitalism is that a lot of people, a lot of businesses have to invest in feasibility studies. They have to invest in that infrastructure. They have to invest in the concept and idea to see whether or not it's going to work. We have that investment already made most of the way. Yes, there might need to be some enhancements. Yes, there might need to be capacity building, offices established, education to be brought to them. However, it's there, waiting to really explode, boom. It's almost like another kind of industrial revolution just waiting to happen in philanthropy. And so I bring this up to you today because I want to remind you of your superpowers that I spoke about last year. And I want to remind you that that is the message that would really speak to a philanthrocapitalist who is bringing more business-like ideas and concepts to their philanthropy. I love Peter Drucker. For those that don't know him, he is a business management guru. And I love this quote: "The best way to predict the future is to create it." I truly believe we are creating our futures by adopting these different principles and adapting to them. And many of our PDOs are already showcasing what is possible by just taking little steps every day and working towards their ultimate goals. So I love it. I can't wait for us to continue to create. And I want to conclude just by bringing it all together for you to let you know the strategic outcome by implementing these strategies. Keep in mind that we are in what they're calling our 5th evolution of philanthropy. That evolution is a shift towards the entrepreneurial philanthropist. Very important, because that mentality, that mindset is being brought to what they did, to their philanthropy and their business of philanthropy and where they're putting their money. They're acknowledging that we need to evolve and grow in a more holistic way. So that's amazing, because now we have this momentum behind us, a support behind us to make sure that we are growing. And therefore, they're pivoting to approach philanthropy in a more business-like way, where existing and would-be funders are forging roadmaps to empower the bottom-up warriors. You guys are bottom-up warriors. Our PDOs are bottom-up warriors. You are in those communities. You are the bottom-up warriors, and they do need you to be part of their process, because you are already there and can help to amplify their dollars. Their end goal is to help communities combat systemic social issues by leveraging business, government, and the nonprofit sectors to optimize the funds needed through philanthrocapitalism efforts with the strategies mentioned today. Essentially, guys, everyone's got to get involved. We are changing the future by creating our future, by leveraging all the resources. Philanthropic organizations cannot do this alone. We need businesses, we need governments, we need the common person, we need nonprofits, we need for-profits, we need everybody, all of humanity working towards making the changes and getting the philanthropic dollars there into getting into the communities and making life better in the communities in which you serve. It is so important. This is not just a philanthropy problem. It is a humanity problem. And philanthrocapitalism gets business involved to help solve that problem. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to offer you today. And I look forward to answering any questions you have in the panel. Thank you very, very, very much. Love to all.